According to Sparks 2013, there are 3 dimensions of media persuasion. Initially, a person that is being persuaded will have a change in attitude about the topic or issue being discussed. A person showing significant signs of persuasion will also develop a change in behavior. Finally, a person that has been successfully persuaded will show signs of persistent attitude and behavioral changes. In January 2014, while using Facebook, I seen a link to an article related to changes recently made to the Voting Rights Act of 1964. Seeing this article blew me away because I did not think there were any reasons to change laws that are in place to protect the rights of all individuals of this nation. To further research this topic, I'd looked to NBC News for an objective source, Fox News for a biased source, and CivilRights.com for a subtly biased report. The most alarming detail was the point that I had just heard about this story this year, but all the resources were dated for June of 2013. The first article, Supreme Court Strikes Down Part of a Voting Rights Act of 1964, was objective, and I felt to give a clear understanding of the arguments made on both sides. The part of the act changed stopped the requirement of federal approval for voting laws of states that had shown previous discrimination issues. The article argued that the data used to determine the states or counties which showed significant biases are mostly in the South and has not been updated since 1972. Additionally, it mentioned that this portion of the act had been used to block more than 1,000 proposed changes to voting rights between 1982 to 2006. Alabama County filed a petition on the grounds that they were being punished for the sins of decades ago. William 2013 claims that there is a successful balance between whites and minorities and that the civil rights activists call the decision devastating. The next article is Supreme Court has re-examined voting rights. Now it must look at Roe versus Wade. This article is biased starting right with the title. I would consider this type of persuasion a peripheral because they want people to consider one topic while also considering another, which may affirm or reinforce the persuasion that is occurring. The words used in this article are persuasive, constantly trying to stir up emotion in their audience. Thomas 2013, a narrow 5-4 decision strikes down central component, freeing 9 states, mostly in the South, to change election laws without federal approval. Additionally, the article sarcastically mentions that the reaction from civil rights groups and liberal media are predictable. Democratic representative from Georgia accused the court of plunging a dagger into the heart of the Voting Rights Act. Thomas argues that there are evolving racial opinions in America, which makes the act no longer necessary. Shortly after the ruling was made public, Texas immediately put into effect voting law changes that had been previously blocked. This article is obviously biased because it wants the audience to think changes to the act that will make it difficult for people to vote is a good thing, and that it's about time that these changes were made. To state that 50 years of blocking voting laws is unnecessary because racial opinions have changed is naive and practically impossible, because hundreds of years of biases and racism is not going to be completely corrected in 50 years. The final article read, Supreme Court rules that Voting Rights Act's coverage formula is unconstitutional. This portion of the act determines which jurisdictions have to pre-clear any voting changes with the federal government prior to the laws going into effect. This is subtly biased because it takes the view that the government has the right to keep all voting laws similar and protect the rights of the individual voter. According to the Leadership Conference, today's decision is a major setback and will have a real detrimental impact on the voting rights of Americans. Additionally, stating it is ludicrous to think the widespread discrimination of the Jim Crow era is over. I find this statement overreaching and subtly biased because I do not see segregation occurring again, but I do agree that there will be detrimental effects to the voting rights of the minorities of this country. I do not think I'm vulnerable to media effects because I understand the importance of doing my own research to come to my own conclusions. I think there are plenty of scare tactics used on both sides of this argument. I think all 3 of these articles would be effective in persuading their audiences to think about what they wanted them to think. The most important detail is to look for truths in the stories and to do independent research to verify the details of a story. Those people that are persuasive with false information tend to be louder than those speaking the truth, because people that speak the truth feel that their correct information is enough. If there are 5 people yelling their biases, there are more people listening to them and not verifying the information, since multiple people are saying the same thing.